We continue now at the top of Daf Pei Zayin Amud Beis in Meseches Gittin. This is Gittin Daf 87b. On the previous summit, the Gemara was discussing a case where you have two Gittin, one right next to the other, on one document. So you have one get written on the right side of the page, and you have another get written on the left side of the page. And the signature, it says on the bottom of the right one, Ruvain ben. That's going to be a kosher signature. And then it says Ruvain ben Yaakov Eid, and so the words Yaakov Eid are underneath the left side, and we said that's not going to be kosher. And the reason why that's not kosher is because we know for sure this is not the handwriting of Yaakov, this is the handwriting of Ruvain, and so clearly he was writing his full name, Ruvain ben Yaakov Eid. It was all going on the get on the right, and the signature is not considered to be going on the get on the left. But the Gemara now asks, V'dilma b'shma de'avu chasim, how do you know? Maybe he was signing the get on the left, and he was using his father's name on the left side, and maybe the son is using the father's name. And to that the Gemara says, Lo shavik in shmei v'chasim shma de'avu. A person is not going to leave aside his own name and sign with the name of his father. We can assume that if we know this is Ruvain's signature, we know it's his handwriting, so he was signing his own name, Ruvain ben Yaakov Eid, and again, it's all going on the get that's on the right. But the Gemara says, V'dilma simona shavya, but maybe he's using his father's name in the same way that you can use a simon. You're allowed to draw a picture as a signature as well. And we have examples of that. Rav Tzayer Kavara, Rav would draw a fish. Rabbi Chanina Charusa, Rabbi Chanina would draw a palm. Rav Chisda Samach, Rav Chisda would draw a letter Samach. Rav Hoshia Ayin, Rav Hoshia would draw the letter Ayin. Rav Bar Rav Huna Tzayer Machusa, and Rav Bar Rav Huna would draw the picture of a sail. So you see that they used various kinds of pictures. And to that the Gemara says, Lo chatze finish l'shavuya l'shma de'avua simona. Person is not going to have so much chutzpah to use his father's name as a simon. That we assume will not happen. And Rashi says, Charusa again, Anaf shel dekel, that's the branch of a date palm. Machusa, Neis sheporson, olav vilon shel sfina, again, that's the sail of a boat. And again, we say that a person is not going to use his father's name as a simon. But the Gemara then continues and says, V'leskasher hai b'shnei edim ivrim, v'leskasher hai b'shnei edim yivanim. The case in the previous Mishnah was, you actually had two Hebrew signatures and they were going underneath the get on the right, and then below those signatures, you had two Greek signatures and they were going on the get. They were going on the get on the left, but we said the get on the left is not kosher. So why not? Why don't we say the get on the right is kosher with the two Hebrew signatures, and the get on the right, and the get on the left is kosher with the two Greek signatures. The Tanan, as we learned in a Mishnah, get shekosvo ivris ve'edav Yavanis. If you have a get that's written in Hebrew with signatures in Greek, or Yavanis ve'edav ivris, or it's written in Greek and the signatures are in Hebrew, kosher in these cases, it's kosher. So why can't we use the two Greek signatures on the bottom for the get on the left? And maybe you'll say, since it's separated by two lines, because those two Greek signatures are underneath the two Hebrew signatures, so there's a separation. So maybe you'll say, since it's muflag b'shnei shitin lo, maybe that's why it's not kosher. V'amar Chizkiya, but Chizkiya said, mileyu b'krovim kosher. If you fill it with krovim, with relatives, let's say you have some extra space within a get and you fill it up with non-kosher signatures, it's still kosher. That's just considered filled up space. As Rashi here says, V'amar Chizkiya hasam, Chizkiya says over there, mileyu la'oso avir, if you fill up that space, bekrovim, with relatives, so kosher, it's kosher. The lo kapdin on ella al avira, we're only makbid that there shouldn't be blank space. V'al tatam asher avir posel b'shlosha b'sukkah, tzchach posel b'arba. He says you shouldn't be surprised at this, because in the Hilchas Sukkah we find this as well. If you have space, if you have nothing there, so then it posels with three. But if you have tzchach posel, so then you're allowed to have more of that tzchach posel, I mean more space, and only posels when it's going to be 4 tzvachim in that case. We'll take a look at the earlier Rashi as well. Maybe you'll say those Greek signatures don't work because they're separated. Chasimas eidav shnei shitin miksavo osan shitin shechosmu behen aboy mitachas harishon shemos avosei and sulam miskasher. Maybe you'll say again they have a separation because the Hebrew signatures are above them. The Tanya beget pashut. We have a Bryce and get pashut that says hirchek eso eidim in aksav shnei shitin pasul. If it's distanced by 2 lines, it actually is pasul. And again, that's why the Gemara brings Chizkiya and says that it's not a problem because it's not blank space. If you fill it up with other signatures, it should be kosher. And the Gemara answers that's actually true according to one shita. Hatani Zeiri actually taught Shnei and Ksherin that they're both actually kosher, not like our Mishnah. Meaning, according to Zeiri, the get on the right is kosher because of the top Hebrew signatures, and the get on the left is indeed kosher because of the bottom Greek signatures. But the Gemara says V'tana didon. So what does our Tana respond? Why doesn't our Tana hold like Zeiri? And to that the Gemara says Dilma Gundalis Chosim, because the problem is you don't know for sure that the Greek signatures were signed in the direction traditionally in the way traditionally signed by Greeks. Maybe it was signed gundalis. What that means to say is that it was signed not in their normal custom. V'kulu achad hu dechasimi. Maybe the Greeks saw that the Hebrew signatures are going on the right get, and so they signed in their not normal fashion that they should also be on the right get. So therefore, you don't really know what get they're going on, and that's why we say that the left get is not going to be kosher. Rashi says, "Vatani ziri b'hanach trei giti demasisin shneim ksherim." Again, Ziri says in the two cases in our Mishnah that they're both kosher. V'tana didon the pasal achron, and our Tana who says that it's pasal kasav ardil magundalis chasam hayavanim. Maybe the Greeks they signed gundalis. Kilomar shalokim and haga, meaning they didn't sign in their normal fashion. Ela kederech ivrim chasmu. They signed in the same way that the Hebrews were signing, and so therefore again it could be that's why the one on the left is not going to be kosher. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah then said, Eid echad ivri ve'eid echad yavani. If you have a Hebrew signature followed by a Greek signature, followed by a Hebrew signature, followed by a Greek signature, so then it's not kosher. And the Gemara asks the obvious question, V'laskasher hai be'eid echad ivri ve'eid echad yavani. Let this one be kosher with its one Hebrew aid and one Greek aid. V'hai be'eid echad ivri ve'eid echad yavani. Let the other one be kosher with its Hebrew aid and with its Greek witness. Why can't they both be kosher? Tatzanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Eid echad ivri ve'eid echad yavani kosher. There's nothing wrong with having one aid who's a Hebrew and one aid that's in Greek. That's not a problem. It's kosher. And so the Gemara again says, Hatani Zeiri, no, because Zeiri actually indeed did teach. He said that's actually true. Shneim kasherim, they actually are both kosher. He understood different than our Mishnah. And again the Gemara asks, V'tana didon, what about our Tana in the Mishnah that says it's not kosher? Dilma gundalis chasim, because again you have the same concern. Maybe they didn't sign in their normal fashion. Utlasa achad, v'chad achad, for all we know, maybe there are three signatures going on one of the Gittin and one signature going on the other. And therefore, since we really don't know what's going on what, that's why according to the Tana of our Mishnah, they are both not kosher. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Shayir mixas haget v'kosvu b'daf hasheni. Let's say he's writing the get, and there's still a little left to write, so he writes it in the second column, meaning to say the end of the get goes into the left column. V'edim ilmat, and the edim are signed beneath at the bottom of the get, meaning the bottom of the left column where the get finishes. Kosher, that is going to be kosher. Chosmu edim barosh hadaf, if the edim sign at the top of the page, min hatzad, or they sign at the side of the page, or me'achrov, or on the back of the document, beget pashut, if we're talking about a regular unfolded get, a normal get, puzzle that is disqualified, they cannot sign in any of those locations. And the Mishnah continues, Hikif Rosho Shel Zeh B'tzad Rosho Shel Zeh. Let's say he writes on one document, two Gittin, the top of one get is up against the top of the other, so you have a separation, they're going in different directions. V'ha'edim be'emsa, and the edim sign in the middle, so they're effectively signed on top of one get right side up, and they're on top of the other get upside down. Shneim Psul, and they're both puzzled, because you can't sign on the top of the get. Sofo shel zeh b'tzad sofo shel zeh. Let's say they set up the documents that the end of each get meets each other. Va'edim be'emsa, and the edim are signed in the middle, so it's signed at the end of each document, but for one document it's right side up, and for the other it's upside down. As sho'edim nikranim o kosher, so the one which the edim are read together with, the one that's right side up is kosher, and the other one they're not signing on because it's upside down. Clearly their signatures are not going on that document. Rosho shel zeh b'tzad sofo shel zeh. Let's say you have the top of one document is right after the end of the other document, v'edim be'emsa, and the witnesses are signed in the middle. As sho'edim nikran b'sofo kosher. So again, obviously, the edim are signing on the one towards the bottom, the one that it's aligned with. That's the one that is kosher. Get sheksavo ivris ve'edav yavanis. If a get is written in Hebrew and the edim are Greek, yavanis ve'edav ivris, or the edim are Greek, or the get is Greek and the edim are Hebrew. Eid echad ivri ve'eid echad yavani. If one eid is Hebrew and one eid is Yavani, ksav sofer v'eid. Let's say you have the handwriting of the scribe plus an eid. Kosher. All of these cases are kosher. Ish ploni eid kosher. If he signs as ish ploni eid, that's kosher. Ben ish ploni eid kosher. If he signs ben ish ploni eid, that's also kosher. Ish ploni ben ish ploni v'lo chasav eid kosher. If he just writes ish ploni ben ish ploni, that's also kosher, even if he doesn't write the word eid. V'kachayon niki hadas should be Yerushalayim, and that's what the men in Yerushalayim who were Nikiyei Hadas, who were scrupulous, that's what they would do. And finally the Mishnah says, Kosav chanichosa v'chanichosa. If the scribe writes the nickname of the husband, his nickname, or the nickname of the wife, her nickname, kosher, that is going to be kosher. And Rashi says, chanichosa refers to Shem Levi Shel Mishpacha Kula. That's like what we would refer to as the surname of the entire family. And the Gemara says, "V'leichosh dil mahani trei gitei havi." Maybe we should be concerned that it's actually two Gittin over here. It's not all one document. This is going on the case in the Mishnah where you have the get that starts in the right column and then it goes over to the left column. It finishes in the left column. So the Mishnah said the Edom just sign on the bottom of the left column and then it's a kosher get. But maybe we should be concerned that actually it was two separate Gittin and each one got cut off a little. It looks like one get, but really the right column is one get and the left column is a separate get. Visrami leis man de kamav ve'edim de basra. Maybe it happened to line up the date of the first get. That's a way of saying the top of the right get. That lined up together with the ve'edim de basra. Lined up with the edim with the bottom of the other get. The edim on the other get. So now it looks like one. The gazil is man de basra ve'edim de kama. Maybe the zman of the left get, the latter get, maybe that got cut off, meaning the top of the one on the left got cut off, and the bottom, the edim of the one on the right, that got cut off. It got cut off exactly at the right spot, and it looks like one get, but maybe we should be concerned that it's really two Gittin. Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav. So Rabbi Abba says that Rav says, Kishiyesh revach milmata. The case over here is, we know the bottom was not cut off because there's plenty of blank space on the bottom that shows that there was nothing cut off, and that's in terms of the one on the right. But the Gemara says, V'dilmas man de basram megas gazi. But still, the one on the left at the top might have been cut off. The date of the latter one might have been cut off. How do you know that? Still, maybe it was cut off at the top, and it was originally two Gittin. And again, the Gemara answers, Kedo Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav. It's like Rabbi Abba said that Rav said, Kishiyesh revach milmata, just like he answered the other question by saying there's space at the bottom. So too, you're going to have to say that there is space at the top. We will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Peches Amud Aleph.